But I was asked if I wanted to talk about my history at Esalen, and I'm going to pass on that. Because everybody's got these amazing histories, and we've heard some extraordinary ones. And I was asked, well, talk about the age wave and longevity. I'm going to pass on that as well. I'd like to talk about Esalen for a few minutes. I feel like I've earned that after 46 years. Everybody's got their own thing as to what they think Esalen is. So I feel like I've earned the right for like 10, 12 minutes to tell you what I think it is. Yeah. Glasses on for this. First, I'm going to ask you to step outside what you think Esalen is, because that's a really hard thing to do. And just listen to my thoughts about it, and then perhaps at some point later on or tomorrow you can reflect on it and see what your thoughts are if you were asked to do that. So I've got 4 points, and these have sort of spun around over the last few years for me. And I don't have them in a particular order, but I'm going to end with a story that I think gets it all. First, Esalen is a commune. We began here as a commune. That was an era of Stephen Gaskins and the farm, and people were like communes. And the word commune is not insubstantial. It was about community. It was about It was about we were going to live together and work together and have children together and think things through together and, howl at the moon together. And that has not gone away. It struggles to keep its identity in this world of other priorities. Hi. But then the issue was, well, what's the business of this commune? Some communes were making, harvesting, produce from the field or eggs or crafts. We were attempting to create consciousness. That was the stuff we were going to make here. And we've done a pretty great job, but this is a commune. It is a community, and it's a fluid community. People come and they go. There are people who've been here for 50 years, and there have been people who are here for 50 hours who both feel that they're righteously a part of the commune and the community, and they've got a right to express themselves, and they feel it. I would tell you that I think of Esalen in that spirit as kind of a tribe. And there were those who stayed and those who left, but I have never for 1 second not felt a part of the Esalen tribe. And I don't think it's just the people who live here. And even if you've only been here for your first 2 days, you can choose to be a part of this tribe. The other thing I'll say is that I've often thought in terms of Esalen's attempt to be Arthurian in this community, with an organized staff and structure, and so you're sitting around the round table and leadership. But then there's the grizzled weirdos around the edge. And I would have to tell you that those grizzled sorcerers and priestesses, I've always leaned a little more towards them. And I would encourage you to think of that as Esalen, that it's got those two sort of power games at play, and they're okay together. Sometimes they're less. Some of the things in this commune: make love, not war. It's not a place to beat people up. It's a place to be kind. It's a place to share hopes and dreams, to be honest, to be naked, to be less judgmental, to be aspirational, hopeful, to share, to give people space. There were values. Never quite, we didn't write them down in the early years, but we know what they are. Second, Esalen is not a one thing. I think of Esalen as a gateway, a portal to big ideas. I had lunch with Michael today. I said, Michael, what was the idea of this place? And he didn't even hesitate. He was like eating his pasta and stuff. And he says, the idea was to bring God to earth.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A minor idea, a trivial kind of exercise. So this, people say, oh, is Esalen, is it the buildings, is it the hot tubs, is it, is it the chopsticks? And man, there was like 15 years worth of no chopsticks. So people are talking about the lodge. I gotta tell you, I am delighted that they have chopsticks again. This is like a big deal for me. So is it that stuff? I don't think so. Esalen is the big idea. It's a big idea. Will it ever completely realize itself? I don't know. But it's a big idea, and not only is it a big idea, but partly because of Dulcie and Michael and Dick and all these other wonderful people that I've had the good fortune to be in love with for so many decades. It's this strange stuff. It's like, here's a didgeridoo guy playing with this spectacular beautiful woman who's making these sounds from another universe, and and then there was an art session, and then we were dealing with trauma and bioenergetics and yoga flow, and I was having dinner tonight, and to the left of me was an aerialist, and to the left of her was a nurse, and then there was a man who was a body worker, but also a bicycle mechanic, and then a retired publicist, and a hedge fund manager who's now become a philanthropist and a photographer, and his wonderful wife who is creating jewelry with a spectacular idea to it, and a couple next to me that met 5 years ago at the Baz and fell in love on January 1st, and they're just having a blast of a time, and my dear friend Nancy Worcester, who I love forever, who drove all the way down to be here tonight. I'm thinking like, what the hell is this place? That these kinds of things come together quite comfortably. Woo! On the gateway thing, I've said this once or twice before in my life, but I want to say it here tonight because I'll probably never get a shot to give what I think this one is again, and that's okay. I'm going to take this one. It's been a gateway and a portal for me. Not all the time. And I'm not particularly keen on all the technology stuff because I found it easier for me to step out of the real world when I couldn't get wired up with stuff. But I realize that, that there's a future coming on. But I have found in my 46 years here that there are moments, sometimes hours, where like that paperweight, when you shook the snow and it settled down, that where things settle for me, and I have the biggest ideas of my life. And, body mind as a young man. And then getting, having a look at this phenomenon of the global aging and thinking about that, name my company, Age Wave. Occurred to you that the waves had anything to do with that. And I dreamed up 10 of my books here and films, and it's just a place where not only is it a big idea, but you can have big ideas here if you allow yourself. Not always, but they come here at a pretty lively clip. I'm going to say one other thing about that. Matt and I went to Chichen Itza a few years ago, the Mayan spectacular ruins. But have any of you been to Chichen Itza? They've got the ball field, which is like a football field, and huge high walls on either side. And at the end is where the king of each nation would sit during these crazy games that would go on until the losing were were all beheaded and cultures changed and civilization rerouted. But if you're at that ball field, which was built another time ago, and you sit at the end, you can whisper to the king on the other end, and he's the only person who can hear you. The whole thing is an acoustic chamber designed to transmit communication between the two ends of the field, and no one else can hear it. I'm not making that up. So people say, oh, Esalen. People say to me all these, oh, that's kind of this funky little place. Well, like they don't have a good PR group. They're, what is your thing? That's for naked people. But there are ideas that happen here, and not all of them get transmitted, but many of them have. Here's this thing. Let's think about physics differently. Let's bring the mind and body together in our psychotherapy and in our medical world. I was involved with a group of people who made up the word holistic. So let's be holistic in health. Let's take art and creativity and match it up with physics. And then these things go out and people hear them and they feel them and they take note of them and they move on them. Not always. And there are some people who've been more effective as being the transmitters than others. And that's okay, because there is the spirit of chop wood, carry water here. That we're all a part of this kind of team, And, like for those of you who are Warriors fans like I am, if Draymond is not passing it over to Steph and Steph's not working it that way, they're not going to get the ball in. So somebody here might have a very modest assignment. You think, oh, I wouldn't do that. But because of what they do, this whole thing happens. Third, this is my sanctuary, so I'm with you guys. And I would tell you that, John Cleese, a friend of Esalen, we were at a John Cleese event a few years ago, and he said that for me there's two paths to spirituality. One is the attempt for direct experience, and I'm all for that. And he said the rest is crowd control. So I'm in the direct experience preferred track. And, I come down that path, and I would not be shocked if a unicorn and a hobbit were greeting me at the end of the pathway here. And, I'm in it with it was like a booming voice of God in the middle of the night. Okay. This is and Maddie and I have been all over the world, and we've been to gorgeous places, and we've been up the road at Post Ranch, and there's one, but man, oh man, did the Murphy family get the jewel. And did the Murphy family let us have it? Let us have an adventure here. Mm-hmm. One other piece on sanctuary, then I'm going to finish up with my closing story. I've had a struggle this last decade trying to figure out how I think the God thing works. And I'm not going to go into that tonight, except to say that I'm really taken by cathedrals. And, Matt and I were at the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. It was probably quite amazing. Obviously, the Sistine Chapel is amazing. Hey, but I got to tell you, for those of you guys that are new to this place, you come down here sometime when there's no moon, and you get a clear night, holy shit. You're going to see a cathedral that makes that other stuff so trivial. And, I say in my life here, maybe 10 times or less. Matt and I were here last month, and man, the Milky Way was going on. And you realize that's the Milky Way over there, or at the top of the sanitarium roof. That's the Milky Way in which we're spinning. Last, I think Esalen is a place of magic. You've all heard it. Everyone here tonight has said it. And I'm going to tell you one story to sort of close out my comments tonight. So, which I think sort of captures it. And we all have these stories. So I'm not saying this is the cool one or the bad one. This is a story. So I'm here like 10 years ago, and I'm having, is Bill Hare by any chance here tonight? Okay. I'm having breakfast there, and one of my friends here, and I didn't know him well, but I knew him, was a guy named Ronnie Hare. Any remember Ronnie Hare? Ronnie was like a cool-looking guy, an older guy in his mid-70s. He had long white beard, kind of white long hair. Always wore a cowboy hat and Oshkosh Bagosh coveralls. Looked like he could play the bass for the Marshall Tucker band. He had that kind of look. And one morning I'm having breakfast with him in the lodge, and he says to me, "Hey, Ken, man," he says, "Ken, man, you got to see this." What? And he takes out a piece of paper, and on it there's a drawing of him that was amazing. And it wasn't like one of these, Central Park, big balloon, funny feet. It was Ronnie. And I said, "What's the deal with that?" He says, "Oh, man, there's this guy here, Dave, you got to meet, because you and Dave are going to do something." I said, "How long did it take Dave to do that thing?" He says, 15 minutes. "Oh, there he is," he says to me. "There's Dave." This is Dave. So I walk over to Dave, who was sitting there with his sketchbook, and I said to him, "Hey, are you Dave, Ronnie? Did you do this?" "Yes, I did." I said, "Well, what else have you done?" Now, I've been, at that point, coming to Esalen for 35 years and living here and everything. And Dave was like, he's got it, man. He's drawing things that most people don't notice. Side story. In the 1970s, one of the people who seldom gets mentioned about having an influence here was Joe Campbell. It was one of my favorites. And Joe believed that the stories we learn, the fables we grow up with, the myths we live with and by, in a way become the tracks on which we move civilization. So Maddie and I, we're raising our two spectacular, crazy, colorful kids, and we're reading them children's books all the time, but we work in gerontology, and what do we notice? That none of the children's books have any positive examples of old people in them. They don't. That older people are geezers or crones, or they're going to fatten you up and put you in the oven and eat you or throw you in a sack. And we had thought one day it would be nice to do a children's book to create an image of what could be possible at the end of a long life, maybe even a transformational thing. But we never could find an illustrator. I'm driving home after meeting Dave, By the way, there's going to be a surprise ending in a couple of moments. And I called Maddie, I said, I think we might have just found our illustrator here at Esalen. But who knows, because at Esalen, you don't really know, like, if it's real what's going on. Or oh, I met people and I saw a flower and it was amazing. And so we became totally in love with each other, all of us. And we decided we're going to do a children's book. And children's books have to be less than 800 words. So we go to New York and we sell it to HarperCollins, and Maddie, Dave, and I decided that we really needed to know what we were doing in this children's book. So Grace, who is now 15, will be 16 next month, was 7 at the time. And so Grace, if you could raise your hand, there's Grace. Grace, Maddie, Dave, and I created Gideon's Dream, A Tale of New Beginnings, which was our homage to Esalen, you should know. And it's about a caterpillar who falls off a leaf and has a sensation of flight and becomes terrified, but it kind of touches something. And then decides that he or something stirs around inside and he starts to dream of flying. And what does he do? He goes off into the meadow and he builds a cocoon and then he sheds his body, turns himself into a butterfly and flies off. So we created this book, Gideon's Dream, Tale of New Beginnings. But while we're doing it, I tell Ronnie Hare, there's a double surprise ending here. I said, Ronnie, man, that introduction, we're doing this book. And when the book gets published, you're going to get the first copy. Cool, great, Ken. So when the book gets published, 4 of us signed to Ronnie. I FedEx it to him on a Tuesday. And I'm coming down for my annual retreat at Esalen on Sunday. Something, this was great, man. I got the book. Look what happened. Ronnie's going to dig it. I'm going to see him this weekend. And on Friday, I get a note from Bill Hare saying that Ronnie Hare has passed away. He has taken his own life, but it was a thoughtful, conscious thing. He had been diagnosed with an end-of-life condition. He was living in his truck. He felt he wanted to be in control, didn't want to be a burden. He wanted to do it on his own terms. Then I thought, oh man, I'll never see Ronnie again. Oh, I'm never going to know if he got the book or not. So I come down on Sunday. Monday night I'm at the baths, 10 o'clock, by myself in the round tub on the left. And I'm soaking as a woman comes in, and she's a very pleasant woman, maybe, 40, 50. And after a while I said to her, are you here for a workshop? No, she says, I'm here for some personal stuff. What about you? I said, yeah, me too. About 20 minutes later, she says, well, to tell you the truth, I'm here because my dad passed away. I said, was your dad Ronnie Hare? She says, yeah, did you know my dad? I says, not well, but I did know him, and I could tell you a story that probably nobody else could tell you. Your dad in a book. She says, wait a minute, were you involved in Gideon's Dream? I says, yeah. How do you know about the book? My dad, Ronnie, sent it to my children, his only grandchildren, the day before he passed away. So he got it Tuesday, sent it Wednesday. He passed away, he took his life the next day. I said, what else did Ronnie send to his grandchildren? That was it. And she says, and you know what? That's a book about Grandpa. That's what he wrote us a letter about. That was his story of leaving his body to go to heaven. So Maddie and I want to thank you for allowing us to be with you here again and again. And for me, Esalen is about the community. It's about the big ideas. It's about the sanctuary, and it's about all the different kinds of magic that happen here on layers upon layers in ways that sometimes we don't even get what's going on. Thank you.